Okay, so good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first live session of the year. So, by the grace of God, we'll have more of these live sessions. Today, we're going to be talking about the 8 worst pieces of blood pressure advice that keeps people hypertensive. Okay, the 8 worst pieces of hypertension advice ever given. So before I jump in, I want to ask if you are a part of the new group. So we are moving into a new community so that we can have better security and I can just control who and who goes into the group. So all of the groups that you are in right now would be shut down on the 31st of March. Okay. So please make sure that you are part of the new community so that you can get access to the information I would share after the 31st of March because by the 31st, all of the groups, all of the end HPP webinar groups that you are in and food for diabetes groups that you are in would be closed. Okay. So please join the new community. Just send me a WhatsApp message and you will be verified and you would be able to join the group. Okay. So the first piece of advice that is not healthy for us is it's too high. It's too high. Your blood pressure is too high. So when does high blood pressure become, or when does blood pressure become hypertension? When should somebody be worried that their blood pressure is too high? And when we say, oh, your blood pressure is too high, is it a trend? Do we make that comment after a patient has undergone series of blood pressure tests or blood pressure readings, or we are just making that conclusion after a one-time reading? Also, before we make that comment of, oh, your blood pressure is too high, we have to ask, has this patient checked their blood pressure at home? Usually when you come to me and you tell me I took my blood pressure at the hospital or at a pharmacy or at some other place, I usually tell you to invest in a blood pressure monitor, right? Because you need to be able to take your blood pressure at home in an environment where you are not under any pressure or you are not afraid that you're going to have a high blood pressure reading. Okay, now let's go through the standard blood pressure readings. Some of us when you take your blood pressure readings and you have certain results, you don't know when you have high blood pressure or when your reading is high or if your reading is normal or even high normal. So let us clear this up today. An optimal blood pressure is usually less than 120 for your systolic reading and less than 80 for your diastolic reading, right? So that's what many of us know, the usual 120/80. Now you have your normal reading for any living human being that is walking about, going to school or work, you have something going on in your life. As long as you are not just sitting down all day, a normal reading for you should be between 120 to 129 systolic and 80 to 84 diastolic. Okay. And a high normal reading is between 130 to 139 for your systolic and 85 to 89 for your diastolic. If your reading falls in between these three groups, you are not considered a hypertensive patient. Nothing concerns you with high blood pressure. Okay. Now, when we begin to talk about high blood pressure is from 140 and above, from 140/90 and above. And even that 140/90, your first source of treatment shouldn't even be a medication, but you should be advised to go through lifestyle changes or dietary changes or exercise routines or to manage your stress. Okay. When you really, really, really enter high blood pressure is when your readings are 160 to 179 systolic. That is when medically you are considered a hypertensive patient. And this reading is if it's on a consistent basis and not just a one-off or one-time reading. Okay. And then we have your grade 3 high blood pressure, which is above 180 systolic and above 109 diastolic. That is when somebody is in a hypertensive crisis. Okay. And that's otherwise called the danger zone. So the first mistake that we make in terms of high blood pressure is telling people when their readings are between these healthy ranges that they are hypertensive because it's not 120/80. Okay, not what we usually see. So this is when you know that, okay, I am now considered a hypertensive patient. And even hypertension has grades. There are different stages to hypertension. So there's stage 1, 140 to 159, stage 2, 160 to 179, and then a hypertensive crisis, which is above 180 systolic. Okay. So I hope that clears the first mistake that we make. Another mistake that we make is to just take this pill. And, when you go into the hospital and they check your reading, especially at the reception, when they check your reading and they say that it's high, the first thing you would usually be told is you'll be placed on antihypertensive medications, right? High blood pressure is not a disease, but a lack of homeostasis. You don't know if that person's blood pressure is high simply because that person has a fever. I remember when I had malaria and I had a very low blood pressure. Now, usually I'm not a hypotensive patient, but because of my condition at the time, my blood pressure was low. We don't know if that patient just lost his sister or his mom and is having a very stressful day or a very bad day, and you check his reading and his reading is high. So high blood pressure is not a disease, but a lack of homeostasis. It's not something that you can hold, or say that, okay, this is what is wrong with you. High blood pressure would definitely fluctuate, and it's an indicator that there's something not right about your body system. In other words, hypertension happens for a reason, right? So if the first treatment is to just take this pill and, okay, anytime your blood pressure is high, you just keep taking that pill, then you're not really treating the symptoms. You're not really treating the condition of high blood pressure, because hypertension is not something that's you can treat with a pill. Okay, it has to be a continuous and life ongoing treatment that you have to undergo. So this is another mistake that we make, another bad advice that we usually hear. Oh, your blood pressure is high, just take this pill, without knowing what exactly caused that hypertension. I don't know if you have ever if you've ever been to the hospital and they laid it out for you clearly, the reason why you have hypertension. For some people, if you are a bit overweight, they just say, okay, it's your weight that caused the hypertension, right? They don't really sit you down and tell you, okay, this is the reason why you have hypertension, right? I don't know if you've had that experience. It is usually when your blood pressure is high, what's the next thing? And that's the way the medical system operates. It's not really one person's fault, but because of the way the medical system is, and we have to attend to so many different patients, you have to just, get it out of the way. However, hypertension is not something that we treat with a pill. Now, another bad advice that we usually hear is that nothing can be done about your genetics. Now, this is false, because your genetics determine what a person is born with. For instance, your eye color, your height, but there is also something that we call epigenetics. And your epigenetics are your expressions of your genes. Because your parents have high blood pressure, or because you have high blood pressure, does not mean that your children will have hypertension too. The only reason your children would have hypertension too is that they are going to follow in your habits and in your lifestyle. So the way you move, the way you treat yourself right now as a hypertensive patient, it's not just for you, but for the sake of your kids. Okay, because I already know so much about my dad and his struggles with hypertension, and my mom and her struggles with her health, that I am not going to make the same mistakes. Okay, so the only reason why we have this family history of hypertension is not that it is in the gene of that particular household. Your DNA is nearly perfect. Your DNA is nearly perfect. What you have is an expression of that gene. Okay, because we mimic our parents' behaviors, we mimic our parents' eating habits, we mimic our parents' thought patterns. Your children would also mimic your physical activity level. Okay, so if you are the type of person that just sits at home, or you live a sedentary lifestyle, they are more likely to follow in that route. And this is something that we call mirror neurons. And this mirror neurons, this ability for your brain to mimic what your parents do, starts from age 2. Okay, you can imagine how old or how grown your children are right now. It starts from age 2. So the way you live your life, your epigenetics, your expressions of your genes, your lifestyle is what would then determine whether your offspring is going to be a hypertensive patient, and not that you are predisposed to it. Nobody came into this world with a hypertension card. Okay, everybody was born and your DNA is perfect. Okay, your parents did not give birth to you and automatically from childbirth you were pronounced a hypertensive patient. It does not work that way. So the other bad advice that we have is that, oh, it's just in your genes. If they ask you why are you hypertensive, oh, it's in my genes, my mommy had it, my daddy had it. That's not the full reason why. Okay, yes, your parents can have hypertension, but it's not that it's in your genes. It's not stuck there. It's simply your expression of that gene. Okay, another piece of bad advice that we hear is that too much salt is what caused high blood pressure. And we know the reason for this is almost everyone knows that water follows salt. So the more salts you have in your body system, the more water your kidneys are going to retain, and that's going to increase your blood volume. So you have more blood moving around your system. And because you have more blood, you have a higher blood pressure. However, salt is not necessarily what caused your hypertension, because if salt is what caused your hypertension, if you check people that really, really, really cut down their salt intake, quite a few of them are still hypertensive. Salt or lowering your salt intake is not the cure to hypertension. If it were the cure to hypertension, then we would not even be in this webinar today at this time, right? Because everybody should just reduce their salt intake. Too much salt is not the cause of hypertension. Now, there is something we call pressure diuresis and pressure natriuresis. Now, your kidneys and the way your kidneys operate with your blood volume, with water and salt, that entire system is the biggest regulator of blood pressure. If you really, 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 really want to tackle hypertension and you ask me, Rita, what organ in my body is really going to help me battle hypertension or fix my blood pressure or stabilize my blood pressure, it's your kidneys. Okay, so this system of your kidneys and your blood pressure and your blood volume and salt, it's the biggest regulator of blood pressure. So this is something that is very, very important. Now, your kidneys are like a filter, right? Your kidneys are like a filter. They help to filter fluids moving in and out of your system. They retain what they need and they excrete what they do not need. Okay. Now, where salt comes in is if there's too much salt roaming around your system, your kidneys would simply just excrete it. Okay. The only reason why your kidneys would hold on to excess salt is because that system, we call it the RAAS system. If I begin to explain this RAAS system, it may be a bit too difficult for you to understand. But there is this system between your kidneys and blood volume, right? The only reason why this system would be broken is if you have been taking things like sugar and processed foods and the things that you're not supposed to be taking in and toxins. That's what is going to damage this system, this system that helps to regulate your blood pressure. That is the only time that you will damage it, and then your kidneys will hold on to more salt than they are supposed to. Not that it is salt that caused this system to break. No, that is not it at all. Because salt is a part of nature. So many things, even the foods that we eat contain sodium, right? I'm not talking about processed foods. But so many things in nature contain salt. So your body knows how to handle salt. I am not saying that you should now become a salt drinker and you should now go and get 5 teaspoons of salt and start gulping it because Rita said that salt is not the cause of hypertension. No, that is just destroying your system. That is way too much sodium for you. But the regular salt that you take in every day, with your cooking, or if you are somebody that takes electrolyte water, it is not enough to destabilize you. Okay, salt is actually very important for your nervous system health as well, and your kidneys know how to manage it. But what is going to disrupt this perfect working system that you have is the processed foods, and the toxins that you are taking in. So when this system is finally broken, like in so many hypertensive patients, it's already broken. And then you consume salts and your blood pressure skyrockets because your kidneys now hold on to salt. It now seems like, oh, it's the salt that is causing this high blood pressure. Meanwhile, that is not the case. So if you want to fix your hypertension, instead of focusing on reducing your salt intake, reduce the things that also impact your RAAS system so that you can better your system and improve how your kidneys manage salt. And then you can enjoy your foods and just eat salt as a regular patient would. Okay. Now, one of the things about what I have for you with cardamom is that cardamom helps to modulate this RAAS system as well. Because when your RAAS system is broken, you have a constricted blood vessel. Okay. It shrinks your blood vessel so that it's difficult for blood to pass through. And cardamom is one of the things that can help to prevent excess angiotensin or too much blood pressure constriction. And it can also help you with your kidney health, and it can also help you to reduce that strain on your kidneys. It's also a very good source of antioxidants for you. So cardamom is one of those things that affects or modulates this RAS system that I'm talking about, this relationship that you have between your kidneys and your blood volume. Okay, so if you really want to tackle your hypertension, one of the key organs you should focus on is not necessarily your heart, but your kidneys and your blood vessel, your blood volume movements. Okay, so at this juncture, please give me feedback. Are we together? Are we together? Do we understand what I am saying? Please let me know using the chat. Okay. Okay. Please let me know if we are all following. Just give me feedback, please. I hope I'm not talking too much. So just give me feedback and then I'll proceed. Okay. All right. So now let's talk about some of the causes of hypertension. If we are to be asked what causes hypertension, it can be divided into two things, a metabolic cause and a neurological cause. Okay, now let's talk about the metabolic cause. This is the biggest cause of hypertension. This is what they don't tell you when you go to the hospital. Okay, now the first thing is insulin resistance. And I know that so many of you may have heard about insulin resistance too much that it may seem like, why is it so important? Now, insulin resistance is one of the things that will cause you to hold on to salts. Okay, even that tiny salt that you are taking, your kidneys can hold on to it like it's your kidneys' life depends on it because of something that we call insulin resistance. Okay, and we know that an advanced form of insulin resistance is type 2 diabetes, right? So insulin resistance, it impairs your body's ability to regulate blood pressure. It's one of the things that breaks down this kidney and blood volume relationship that you are supposed to have. Okay. Insulin resistance also causes you to have a scarring of your blood pressures. Okay. Now you can also have chronic inflammation because of You can also have chronic inflammation because of insulin resistance, and you can also have oxidative stress because of insulin resistance. What all of these mean is that there is damage to your blood vessel. Okay, and we know that when your blood vessel is damaged, you have a development of plaque. So when you eat healthy foods, cholesterol will then stick to that damaged blood vessel. Your kidneys, they don't function properly as they are supposed to. And if they don't function as they are supposed to, you have an increased blood pressure and increased RAAS system. Okay. Another main cause of hypertension is neurological. So this is talking about your brain and your nervous system. So there's something we call a sympathetic dominance or a flight fight response. And this is completely normal for everyone. Okay, as you go through life, things would just things would happen to you in life that would cause a natural increase in your blood pressure. And like I said at the beginning of this webinar, that in that moment, if you take a person's blood pressure and it is high, it doesn't necessarily mean that that person has to be placed on antihypertensive medications or that person is now considered a hypertensive patient. Okay, because sometimes your brain and nervous system is going to adjust to what is going on around you. Your body is going to need more oxygen, your body is going to need more glucose, your body is going to need more pressure, more blood moving around your blood vessel. Okay, so your blood pressure will just rise. Neurological causes of hypertension are simply natural, while the metabolic causes of hypertension are the things that you have the power to control. Okay. Another bad advice that we get as hypertensive patients is that you should just avoid stress. Just avoid stress. Oh, it's because of your stress. That's why you are having high blood pressure. But the truth of the matter is that stress is not easy to avoid, especially when you are a Nigerian that is living in Nigeria, that is dealing with this economy. You cannot tell a family man who has 5 children or 6 children that needs to make his money to train his children that he should stop working because he's having high blood pressure. He needs to work. He would rather take that medication and go to work than to sit at home or be on bed rest. Okay, in as much as we know that your health is important and you have to take care of your health, you have to get back to work, right? So stress is not something that we can easily avoid, if you agree with me. 99% of the time, we have to do what we have to do to survive, okay? Now, when we talk about stress and hypertension, you can't really control your external environment and the work you have to put in to make your daily bread. However, you can control how you respond to your stress. Okay, now there are different types of stress. There is a chemical stress, there is structural stress, and there is also emotional stress. Okay, so let's us talk about this together. Okay, for our chemical stress is usually caused by factors such as blood pressure, blood sugar fluctuations, some toxins or heavy metals that we can take in, like artificial sweeteners, our preservatives, our processed foods. Now, these things can interfere with your body's regulatory system, and it can also cause inflammation, which can cause your blood pressure to rise. There is also structural stress, which is caused by a lack of movement. Some of you have bad posture. Okay, some of you are dealing with physical trauma, and especially something like your posture and your spine. The reason you are told not to live a sedentary life is not that sitting down, on your at at your table in front of your laptop for 6 to 8 hours is so bad, but that's because of your posture, you can disrupt some signals that are sent through your spinal cord. Okay, because that's how your body communicates. You get signals from your brain that moves through your spinal cord, right? So you can disrupt these signals, and if some receptors are not working fine, it can cause your blood pressure to rise. And then we have emotional stress, which is majorly about the life events that you go through. But aside the life events that you go through, some of us are just, how we say that somebody is naturally the person just has a hot temper naturally. Somebody like that is bound to be hypertensive patients, okay? Because every little thing, you see them shouting, you see them being angry. Some people also just have a lot of anxiety, right? When things are not going well for you, you are just so worried. Your heart is, you can feel or hear your palpitations, and then you complain to a medical professional that you're having palpitations all the time. You know that you are naturally, I would say, an anxious person. So baseline, some people naturally just deal with things with their emotions that they should work on. However, these things can cause a person's blood pressure to rise. Okay, so in as much as stress is not one of the things that we can easily control, you can control your response to stress, and you can do this through meditation and breathing exercises. I promise you, if you are very consistent with your breathing exercises and your meditations, you would see that there is an improvement in your life, especially with how calm you are when it's time to deal with some certain situations. So just take some moments when you wake up and before you go to bed, try to let everything that happened in that day just let it go so that you can have a good night's sleep. With consistency, you will see how it's really, really impacts your life. I would use my dad as an example. My dad used to be a very hot-tempered person. With every little thing that goes on, especially, with kids running around the house, it's, with just a little thing, he can flare up, right? However, he started taking his meditation seriously every morning and at night, and he has changed. He's not as tempered or hot-tempered as he used to be. So if you take these things seriously, don't just see it as because it's so small and so insignificant, you don't see how impactful it can be for you. No, it's that little thing that you think would not impact your life that would actually impact your life. Okay, so you don't have to take a medication first or a supplement first before you know that you are making progress when it comes to your health. Some little things can just help you in the long run. That's what we call compounding effect, right? Another bad advice that we are told is that you should just lose weight, especially when you go to the hospitals and you are a bit on the bigger side, and they tell you, oh, it's just your weight that caused this high blood pressure. Now, it's true, weight can cause people to be hypertensive, but slim people also have high blood pressure. Slim people also have kidney dysfunction. Slim people also have liver dysfunction as well. So the issue is not the weight itself, but the habits that led to that weight gain. A person can lose weight and the next month they just gain everything back. Okay, that's not the way to go. So lose not just the weight itself, but also let go of the factors and the habits that led to that weight. Okay, because you can lose weight and you still have a problem with your kidneys. Okay, you can lose weight via extreme measures. You can decide that, in fact, for 1 week, I'm not going to eat. I will just be on a water fast. You will survive the water fast. You will lose some weight, but you still have issues, right? So don't just lose the weight, lose the factors. Let go of the habits that caused you to have that weight, especially when it comes to your belly. That's what we call visceral fat. Why pot belly is so bad? It's not just that it's belly fat, but that fat is around some very, very, very important organs around your belly, like your kidneys, like your liver. Okay, so that's why it's so bad. Focus, if you have abdominal obesity or pot belly, focus on it, but don't just lose the weight, lose the factors that led to it. Make sure that when you are losing weight, you are doing it for the long run and not just for um short term gain. Okay. And another bad advice that we usually get is that you should get low fat or eat low fat. Now, the thing about fat is, just like everything else, there is good and there is bad, right? So bad fat is bad. When we say bad fats, we mean harshly processed plant fats, like your vegetable oils, your granite oils, the oils you use to fry, that say that the oils that you get from your supermarkets that you use to fry your yam, your potatoes, etc., that have low cholesterol on them, that is a bad type of fats. Okay. And then there are good fats that man hasn't touched, that man hasn't processed, like olive oils, your meat, your eggs, your avocados, your nuts, and your seeds. Okay. So just like everything else, eat your fats that are good for you. Because something says low fats doesn't mean that it's healthy for you. Most times when something is low fats, because we already have this notion that fat is bad, it's kind of like a marketing gimmick, right? So when you go to the hospital or when you go to the supermarket, you want to shop and you see a product and it says low fat, they already know that subconsciously we recognize fat as something that is bad, as something that leads to, high cholesterol, that leads to kidney or heart disease, etc. Right? Which I am trying to correct that notion. But most of these things are marketing gimmicks. If you remove fat from a specific food to make it low fat, you are simply depriving that food of nutrients, first of all, because fat is a macronutrient, okay? The macronutrients we have are carbs, proteins, and fats, right? So fat is a macronutrient, it's an important one. Your body cannot do without it. So you are removing a macronutrient. You are also taking away your body's most preferred source of fuel, not sugar, not glucose, but fats. Fat is what your body prefers to use as energy as opposed to glucose. It is because we have switched from using fats to using glucose for energy that we have so many diabetic patients, right? So you are also removing your body's most preferred source of fuel. And in order to give that thing taste so that you can eat it and be satisfied and also get more, they then add sugars and artificial sweeteners to make these things, tasty for you so that you can get more. Okay, so eating low fat is not necessarily a good advice, except you are letting go of your bad fats. Okay. Now you have to know where you are as opposed to your regular cholesterol test, LDL test that you take at the hospitals. There are some other tests that you can take to track your progress as a hypertensive patient. You can also share this with a friend who is maybe predisposed to hypertension or who fears that they are going to be a hypertensive patient. They can look through these things. So we have C-reactive protein. This measures the amount of inflammation going on in your body, okay? And we have insulin. Insulin leads to insulin resistance, metabolic issues. We also have homocysteine. This can damage blood vessels as well. And then we have lipoprotein, the size of your lipoprotein. This just means that when cholesterol is moving around your blood vessel, does it have the capacity to stick on that particular blood vessel, okay? So that's what we call lipoprotein A, and then you have LDL. So, I have told you before that LDL cholesterol is not necessarily bad. What you should focus on is your VLDL. That is when you know, okay, I have a problem with the types of foods that I'm eating. Okay, so VLDL in particular, your size and the number of particles. Okay, so make your changes as well. Most of the things that we have spoken about today are related to your diet. Okay, all of them are related to your diet. And you have heard me say before that 80% of your recovery comes from the way you eat your food. Okay, the other 10%, if it's not possible to have 100% healing, at least you can get 90% healing. The remaining 2 to 10% comes from things like medication, supplements, cardamom, all these external things that you do to just boost, what you're already doing. But 80% of your healing, the bulk of your healing comes from what you eat. And you have this ebook for you, How You Can Eat as a Human Being. I listed out the acceptable carbs, acceptable proteins, acceptable fats and oils, vegetables, nuts, seeds, fruits, your water, the types of fluids you can take, the types of condiments and spices that are good for you. If you're letting go of sugar, as I would advise you to, but you still want to have some form of sweeteners, I also listed out some acceptable sweeteners in there for you. And you also have fasting methods. Okay, so all of these things, you can use the acceptable meals I have given you to then create your own meal plan, based on what you have at home, what you have readily available. And I am not the one telling you what you should eat on a Monday morning. Okay. And what if you don't have eggs at home on a Monday morning? Okay. So you can then prepare your own meal plan ahead of time and, take care of your eating habits. Okay. And remember that your free delivery and free gift is still available. So today is the last day to get this my birthday offer. So if you shop any of the products, you get a free delivery and a free gift. Your free gift is 101 herbs and supplements that could save your life and that of your loved ones. Okay, so I hope that you learned something new today. Please let me know if you have any questions. And if there are no questions, I have a short quiz for you. just to test if you learned something today. So the first quiz is you can just type your answer down in the chat. If your parents have high blood pressure, you will have it too, no matter what. Is it true or false? Just let me know your answer in the chats. If your parents have high blood pressure, you will have it too, no matter what. True or false? Okay, false. Okay, everyone says false. Okay, that means we listened. That's good. Okay, are we ready for question 2? Okay, all right, let's move to question 2. What can make your blood pressure go up? A, eating too much sugar, drinking water, and sleeping well. What can make your blood pressure go up? Okay, A, sugar, eating too much sugar. Okay. As opposed to salt, if you really want to tackle blood pressure, start first with your sugar intake and your processed food intake. And the last question for today, why is just taking medicine not the best way to fix high blood pressure? A, it only treats your symptoms and not the real cause of high blood pressure. B, it makes blood pressure go away forever. And C, it means you can eat junk food without worry. So why do we say that medications are not the best way to fix high blood pressure? Exactly, because it focuses just on your symptoms and not the real cause of your hypertension. Okay, so please ask me your questions now. Thank you for participating in this short quiz. That means that you learned something. There was no wrong answer. All right, so please ask me your questions. And if there are no questions, you are free to leave the chat. So next week, Sunday, we are going to treat this type of topic, but for diabetic patients, okay? Some of the worst pieces of advice that we have been given for diabetics, all right? Okay. Does hypertension have anything to do with heart palpitations? Yes, yes, yes. Hypertension can cause you to have heart palpitations. What are palpitations? Palpitation simply means that you are aware of your own heartbeats. Okay, because your heart is always beating, right? But when you are aware of it, that's what we call palpitations. Okay, so yes, if the pressure within your blood vessels is too high, which is what we call high blood pressure, you can be aware of your own heartbeats. Palpitations are not usually bad, except they come with things like you are feeling breathless, you are feeling weak, you feel like throwing up, you cannot even stand. That is when you should, check it out. But usually they come and they go. Okay. But if your palpitations last a very long time at a stretch, if you are feeling breathless, you don't feel good, you are just, you are having symptoms of shortness of breath, fatigue, vomiting, nausea, then you should check it out, okay? But otherwise, palpitations just mean that you are aware of your own heartbeats, okay? You are simply aware of your own heartbeats. Can fasting help to reduce blood pressure? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because one of the things that causes blood pressure or high blood pressure is insulin resistance. And when you fast, you are giving your body the opportunity to make use of its storage. The body is storing so much that when you eat again, it is not able to handle what you have stored with what you are currently eating. So when you fast, you are giving your body the ability or the opportunity to make use of its storage system so that it can let go of some things. Okay. Let it make use of its storage. Let it make use of its fat that it has stored. Okay. Yes. So that's how fasting helps you. So yes, fasting can help to reduce blood pressure. Okay. You're welcome, Mrs. Priscilla. Thank you for coming. My BP is always high when I do not sleep well or when I am stressed. What should I do? Okay, speaking about your stress, it's first off, this is completely normal. When you don't get enough sleep, your circadian rhythm would alter your blood pressure for the day. Okay, because your body does a lot of healing while you are sleeping. Okay, so when you cut it short or when you don't give your body enough time to rest, then it can lead to blood pressure, high blood pressure. And when you are stressed out as well, you activate your sympathetic nervous system. So that can also raise your blood pressure. What you can do, first off, handle how you manage or how you respond to your stress. Okay, handle how you respond to your stress. So it's like what we discussed today. You may not be able to control the work that you put in. However, you can control how you respond to it. So meditations can really, really help you. Having some quiet time can really help. And when it comes to your sleep, figure out why you are not sleeping on time and then try to fix that. If it's because of poor sleeping habits, if it's because you are awake for too long, try to move some of your activities to the daytime. And also, if you can take a nap as well in the afternoon, that can really, really, really help you. Okay, that can really help you. So, for more tips on your sleep, I've done a session on sleep patterns before, so you can just take a look at it. Okay, I would share with you the link to that video that I've done in the past, so that you can have some more tips on how you can handle your sleep. But there are some methods to it anyway. Some things can help, like melatonin, cardamom too can help when it comes to sleep. Just observing better sleep patterns can help. Okay. Deaconess asked, am I still on Zoom? Okay. Deaconess asked, what to do with the right-sided enlarged heart? Okay. Usually, when you have hypertension for an extended period of time, okay, it can lead to an enlarged heart. And what you do in that situation is to treat hypertension, manage blood pressure properly. Now, not just with medications, but properly, okay, using or through your lifestyle changes, okay? So lifestyle changes are the best way to go about it, because there is, except you want to go in for surgery, there's not much you can do except to treat the underlying cause of that enlarged heart, okay? So if you can simply tackle your lifestyle and your eating habits, then you would be able to go through life even with an enlarged heart, but it would not worsen. Okay, it would not worsen. Right? If you are dealing with this condition right now, but you don't have any episodes where you feel like you are out of breath or you are very, very fatigued, then you can continue to go through it without having any issues. But you must also focus on the underlying cause of the reason you have this enlarged heart. So it can be to hypertension, it can be to lung disease, it can also be due to sleep apnea. Okay, it can also be due to sleep apnea. Okay, so in other words, to treat an enlarged heart, focus on the underlying condition of that enlarged heart. If you're able to manage that condition properly and naturally, then it wouldn't cause problems for you. It wouldn't progress, okay, into a worse condition. Okay. So to answer your question, Ma, you treat an enlarged heart by treating the underlying cause of that enlarged heart. Okay. So meditation or breathing exercises is just you taking some time off to count your breaths and to relax. That is simply it. Okay, that is simply it. You can look through YouTube how to meditate or some breathing exercises or breathing techniques, especially for hypertensive patients, and you see a variety of them. Okay, there are a variety of them. A popular one that we have is 478, if I'm correct, 478. So you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold it for 7 seconds, and you breathe out slowly for 8 seconds. Okay? So meditation simply is relaxation. You taking some time off to just relax. Okay? Drinking much water daily, does it help to reduce blood pressure or increase one's blood pressure level? The amount of water that you drink doesn't have a direct impact on your blood pressure. Okay? The reason I say this is because of your kidneys. So your kidneys will simply regulate it. It's exactly what we discussed today. Okay? The reason you consuming too much water, anyways, how much water can you even drink? You are advised to take 2.5 liters every day, right? So if you stick to that, that's okay. But your kidneys would regulate it. Your kidneys would regulate it. So no, drinking too much water doesn't it doesn't reduce blood pressure, neither does it increase blood pressure. It's just a natural thing that you do for healthy living. Okay? A natural thing that you do for healthy living. So no, Mr. Tony. Okay. All right. All right. Any other question? You're welcome. Okay. If there are no further questions, thank you so much for joining me live today. If you have any more questions, just let me know via WhatsApp and I will attend to you. Okay. So I'll see you again next week, Sunday, by the grace of Almighty God, giver of life. And we are going to talk about the worst pieces of advice for diabetics. Okay. All right. So I will speak to you next week live. Take care of yourself. Bye.